certainly in an ideal world, children can play together and there might not be any need for too much structure or intervention, but different children are going to have different needs. And if our goal is to get every child ready for school success, in some cases that's going to require a variety of different types of interventions, whether it's working with parents to know when it's time to step back, as you say, and let the children express themselves and engage in imaginative play, or whether there's a need for some medical services, some pediatric care, or some other type of intervention. We just want to make sure that all the resources are available, that if you're elected to the legislature, you will provide the support for all those resources to be available to get every child ready to learn and ready for school success.
Well, fundamentally, you would say that the family would be looking out for the child's diet. They would be, the parents would be looking out at the child's health and be able to observe their coordination, their ability to articulate, their ability to respond to directions, and that the parent would be observing the child's learning by virtue of their engaging the child in various tasks that would actively employ the child in functioning in a way that demonstrates learning. So, and of course the social and emotional health would be inherent in the relationship that the child has with the family. So, and in that setting, wouldn't it make sense to focus on making it possible to kind of oversee how the environment of the child is or is not supportive of the very things that you may want, without necessarily employing a whole group of people to professionally involve themselves, the doctor and the social worker and all these people, when in fact maybe things are quite normal and they might function without a lot of intervention.
I would just say that to that question, that research has shown over time that our achievement gap has really extended and gotten larger. We have more and more kids that are failing school or having trouble, schools that are failing kids, and there's a lot of research out there that really shows that some of these early interventions make a big difference for those kids and are beginning to, you can begin to see some of that achievement gap get smaller. And so while I think that in an ideal world, absolutely, parents would be interacting with their kids, but parents are busy now. You have two parent working family, or you have single families. You have a lot of families, especially in Michigan, who are living in lower income or poverty type situations. They're trying to meet their basic needs. They have no idea how to begin to address their child's social emotional health because they're still trying to get in touch with their social emotional health. They don't know how to, maybe they can't even afford to do to take their child to the doctor. We know that fast food and junk food is cheaper, easier to get, so you see a lot higher obesity. And so while I think in an ideal world, absolutely parents would be it, I think that there's a huge group of parents that don't know what to do, and that we have to reach out to them.
Well,
so that their children.
I agree. I think that, for instance, if you take the issue of diet, I don't agree that fast foods are cheaper. They're just faster. And so, if, a potato, baking a potato is cheaper than buying French fried potatoes, and you get the whole potato, you get you don't get all the fat, and it's far more nutritious. So, if anybody wanted to use some level of economy in their home budgets, and they were looking at how to best feed their family, I would think fast foods would be the last resource I would go to, because those foods are designed for profit of the people making them, and you could buy a 5-pound sack of potatoes for $2, and you can get a lot of meals out of it, and we know that that's been the case for many centuries, that potatoes are a basic crop. So, and I think it's true with other things as well. If you grow things or you buy things in the market, vegetables are going to be much cheaper, and they're certainly more available, especially during the summertime. There's an abundance of fruits, especially in Michigan, so we have a lot of natural resources. In an economy that is currently under tremendous pressure because of the severity of the impact that it's had here in Michigan, because of the reduced levels of support we are getting for everything. It's hard to lift out any item and spotlight it with some level of support that exceeds those other areas that are currently very much in need. So in a way, I kind of wonder, how do you take and pull this out in the prioritization in a way that would satisfy your concerns and at the same time recognize the economic exigencies of our day?
Well, I think the most important answer to that is that this is the future, is that this investment has greater payoff in the future than any other. Early childhood is unique in that the return on investment that we explained to you, the $7 to $17 return for $1 is just so dramatic that it does overshadow others. Now, having said that, we are not trying to say that other programs for needy people are not important. Of course they are, and of course, we hope there will be enough money to fund all kinds of worthy programs, but we just want you to understand the things that make early childhood special as a time in life and as programs to fund.
Unfortunately, as you know, we only live in the present, and most of the people who will be in the legislature today will not be there in the future, because the limitations on terms means that nobody sees that future far enough to be able to realize this. This includes both the House and Senate and the governor's office. So the ideal sort of planning that you describe, where you're dealing with a child that's like 3, 4 years old, and then you look at the future and you say that the child's ready for high school next, you're talking about a whole different set of players on the scene. And each group of players is always going to look first at the present. Where are we now? Who looks to the future, and who can succeed for the future when they cannot manage to accomplish the present?
That is definitely food for thought. We just hope you'll remember that 50% of voters surveyed said that they want their elected leaders to look to the future.
Well, 50% of the voters would say a lot of things, but when you ask them to approve a specific tax for the purpose of accomplishing what they say they want, it would be amazing if you could get 30% to approve the tax. But it's easy for people to say how much they like things. It's much more difficult for them to say how much they would be willing to pay for the things they want.
Well, we would like to help you in your campaign with anything we've talked about today or any ideas you'll be pushing related to early childhood. We'll leave you with this packet of background information, and we'll end by assuring you that none of the information you shared with us today will be published. We're using it only to help us identify opportunities to educate candidates and to identify champions once elected. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Well, thank you
again.
Thank you for the opportunity to give expression to the thoughts to which we share so much in common.
We would like to help you in your campaign with anything we've talked about today or any ideas you'll be pushing related to early childhood. We'll leave you with this packet of background information, and we'll end by assuring you that none of the information you shared with us today will be published. We're using it only to help us identify opportunities to educate candidates and to identify champions once elected. We appreciate your time, and we look forward to working with you.
Well, thank you
again.
Thank you for the opportunity to give expression to the thoughts to which we share so much in common.